So let's talk about total suspended solids, or TSS now. And this is usually more than 90% sediment, but there can also be plant and algal detritus in this as well. TSS is a very important indicator because it limits the light that gets into the deeper water and therefore limits the growth of things like eelgrass, phytoplankton, and seaweed. But especially eelgrass because seagrasses require a lot more light than algae. Now, nearly everyone we've talked to recognize that we have high TSS levels in our estuary. And the estuary seems to be more turbid in the last 10 or 15 years than before that. This would make sense since we've lost so much oyster and eelgrass habitat since the early to mid-90s. And both these habitats do quite a lot to settle sediments, take them out of suspension. A windy day used to stir things up for a day or two. Now a windy day stirs things up for a week to 10 days. Is this solely because we have less eelgrass and oysters? Does it have to do with increased erosion of our salt marshes? Do we have increased organic matter leading to finer, more easily suspended sediments? We have to look into these questions. This graph shows TSS data at Adams Point going back to the late 80s. This is the first box and whiskers graph in this presentation, so let me take a second to explain how these graphs work. The boxes encompass the middle 50% of the data points, from 25% to 75%. The horizontal line in each box is the median, and the upper and lower vertical lines show the complete range of the data. This graph is showing a statistically significant increase over time. In particular, look at the values from 1993 to 1999. The boxes, which contain the middle 50% of the data points, are all less than 15 milligrams per liter. Since that time, you see much higher values and more extreme range of values. For the last 3 years of the data set, the boxes are almost completely above 20 milligrams per liter, and the extremes go into the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Most of the other stations do not have increasing trends, but most of them are also starting around 2003, so we're missing a big part of the story. Even concentrations at the Coastal Marine Lab in the last 5 years were above 15 milligrams per liter, and in 2015, most of the data points were above 20 milligrams per liter. In terms of managing sediments, you have to look at the internal resuspension of sediments versus external supply of sediments. For internal resuspension, the best way to combat that is by doing everything we can to bring back eelgrass and oysters. In terms of new supplies of sediment to the estuary, we mitigate that through better shoreline erosion policies, stormwater management, conservation, and especially riparian buffer conservation.